Hi everyone, my name is Jasmine Foster, and today I will be doing a course on how to get into retail. I have been working at your favorite retailers like Target or Amazon for almost a decade. And so I've gotten a chance to work with so many small and emerging brands. If you're watching this video, you're probably like, I have an amazing product. Now what? How do I get my brand into retail? So don't worry, we will be getting into all the tips and tricks and things you need to know to get you started right away. I'm going to go over, first, how to get discovered. Second, how to be shelf ready. And last, how to showcase your value. So the first thing you need to know is how to get discovered. Retail buyers manage over 80 brands, which means they are busy. Even though finding brands and finding out the newest, latest trends is probably the funnest part of their job, they don't really have a lot of time to do it. So it's your job as a brand owner to really figure out how to cut through the noise, how to get these buyers to see you, to see your value, and that really comes with you meeting them where they are. So the question is, where are buyers at? Where are they looking to find and discover brands? I will walk you through where you can be discovered. There are a lot of ways to be discovered, but below are the 6 that I recommend, and I will go through each one with more detail. First is a trade show. Second is having a sales broker. Third is using a matchmaking platform. I know, that sounds like dating. Fourth is LinkedIn. Fifth is using an incubator program. And then lastly, I'll be going through some passive routes. So first we're going to go through trade shows. Every category usually has 1 to 2 major trade shows that retail buyers attend. So let's break it down. If you're in food, you're most likely going to see people at the Food and Beverage Show or Expo West. If you're in beauty, a lot of people are going to attend shows like the Beauty Expo or Cosmocross. No matter what industry you're in, there's going to be a show. So do your research to understand what are the shows that retail buyers most likely attend. You should be easily able to find this doing some quick Google searches. And usually every retail buyer at least attends 1 to 2 shows per year to make sure that they're staying on top of who's the latest brands and what are the new latest trends. Now, these shows can be a bit expensive. They can cost anywhere between $1,000 to $10,000 just for you to have a booth there. And that's not including any booth setup. So if I was you and I was early start on business, I would go as an attendee to the show the first time, just to make sure it's worth your money. You can go to these shows as an attendee, check it out, see what type of booths are there, see what type of brands are there, kind of network and understand what buyers or distributors, which we'll get into later, will be there. And then you can make a decision either that next year to attend that show. Why I think trade shows are a really great way to get your brand exposure is because, like I said, buyers are already planning on attending them, and they already usually have 1 to 2 carved out for the year. So like I said in the beginning, you want to make sure that you are meeting the buyers where they want to be met. This is the time frame where they're already planning on taking meetings, getting to meet people, networking, passing out their cards. This is where they plan on meeting people. So you want to make sure that you are at the most appropriate trade show for your category. You can do some research and understand which ones are a little bit more spendy and which ones are also a little bit more pocket friendly if you are a small brand, but it's definitely a great way to meet buyers. Typically here, you want to have your 30 to 60 second speech down because you're going to have a short window to really get them to come in. And then once you get them to come in, you're going to want to talk to them about your top 1 to 2 hero SKUs. If interested, they'll usually ask you to either send them samples or send them a deck to give them more information. But this is really a great way to connect with people live, have a mini meeting. You're not going to have a full line review here, but have a mini meeting and get your brand out there. So you're definitely want to look into trade shows as a way to get your brand exposure to retail buyers. The next way for your brand to get exposure is for you to have a sales broker. Now, what is a sales broker? A sales broker's job is to find the newest and latest trends and the newest and latest brands and then present them back to the buyers. These people usually have very strong relationships with the buyers and with the companies that they rep for. And they're usually located in very close proximity to whatever retailer that they have underneath their umbrella to make sure that they're getting constant face time. Most of these sales broker firms are actually started by either ex-retail executives or ex-CPG executives. So like I said, they already have those very close relationships with these buyers and with these retailers. They know what they're looking for, they know what success looks like. They really can help you as a brand scale very quickly. So how do you meet a sales broker? So like I said before, trade shows. Buyers aren't the only people who are going to trade shows. Distributors are going there, sales brokers are going there. They're going as well to find what are the new latest brands that they want to present to these buyers. You can also do a quick Google search for sales brokers within the retail area that you're looking for. So an example is if you're looking to get into Ulta, you would want to research any sales brokers that are in the Chicago area. If you are wanting to get into JCPenney's, you would want to research any sales brokers that are within the Texas area. Like I said, they usually are in very close proximity to the retailers in which they have as clients. So what else are the benefits of these sales brokers? These sales brokers, like I said, have a lot of information. If you are a brand that is starting off, you may not know all the systems. So let's say you get picked. You may not know all the systems that it takes to start a vendor setup process. A vendor setup process can honestly take anywhere from a month to 6 months for any given retailer. So you're gonna want to have someone who can help you get through that process quicker. Another key benefit of having a sales broker is that they have standing meetings with this buyer. And so they're able to present your brand on your behalf without you even having to fly and attend there. And they're able to gauge interest and see if your brand is something that the buyer would be interested in. Once interested, they will then invite you to have an informal meeting with the buyer, but they help kind of get you a foot in the door. Another thing that a lot of people don't know is that a lot of these retailers actually require that you work with a sales broker. You know, like I said before, most buyers are managing 80 to 100 brands, which means their time is very limited to kind of handhold a new brand through this process. And so by using a sales broker, you are showing that you are taking the initiative to invest in your brand and to invest into a service that will help you ramp very quickly. Having a sales broker shows the retailer that you now will have someone who can help you understand expectations. You will now have someone who will help you through supply chain challenges. You will now have someone who will help you understand what branding changes maybe might be needed for you to be successful on shelf. And so a lot of retailers will actually ask that you work with them so that they can make that process a little bit more smoothly for you. So at this point, you're probably like, well, why wouldn't I work with a sales broker? Well, they aren't cheap. Each sales broker, on average, if you look it up, the commission rates can be anywhere between 3 to 5%, which is standard. So that means that when you get into retail, they're going to take 3 to 5% of your net sales. So, you know, it does cost a little bit for you to work with them, but the great thing about them is they provide you with a wealth of experience and really help you get discovered, help you get that foot into the door at these retailers. So the next one I want to tell you about is matchmaking platforms. So no, this is not a dating service, but it kind of works like one. Matchmaking platforms are platforms in which you as a brand go on and fill out a profile. You fill out, you know, how long you've been in business, you fill out what's your estimated annual revenue, you get to put all your products up there with the product descriptions and the price points and all of that. And then retail buyers go onto these platforms and they filter by what they're looking for. So let's say that I am the natural deodorant buyer. I will go into the website and say, I'm looking for natural deodorant brands that are over 100,000 and have at least 5 SKUs. That would then filter down all the brand options for me. If I was interested in you, then I would now have the opportunity to send you an email and ask you more about your brand. So it's a great way for you to put your brand out there without necessarily having to do much work. It's also a great way for you to be a little bit more aggressive. So a lot of these platforms are free, and they're free if you just want to put your information up there and you want to allow a buyer to reach out to you if they are interested, excuse me. Now, if you want to be more aggressive, you typically have to pay an upcharge, but this then allows for you to contact that buyer directly. Send them a friend deck, send them your profile on this matchmaking website. It's awesome. So it has at your fingertips all the buyers that are using this platform, and it kind of leaves it up to you to decide if you want to reach out to them or allow them to reach out to you. Now, one of the key players in this space is called RangeMe, www.rangeme.com. I would definitely have you look into there. There's probably other websites that are very useful in this matchmaking profile space. So the fourth way I'm going to talk to you guys about being discovered is by using LinkedIn. So as a buyer, I honestly had a love-hate relationship with LinkedIn because you would get cold call email messages probably 2 to 3 times a week from brands that wanted to get into whatever retailer that you were working for. And the interesting thing was that usually 70% of the time, I would get emails from brands that weren't even in my category. Now, if I thought they were amazing brands, I would sometimes still forward that message to the right contact within my company. But oftentimes, they were brands that I was just a little bit iffy on. And it wasn't necessarily because they were a bad brand, but it was because they didn't really give me enough information to really make a call on if it was worth my time. So I'm going to tell you how to use LinkedIn appropriately and how to use it in a way that really gets your brand noticed. So the first thing I would say is you can use LinkedIn for research. Buyers at retail companies usually turn desk over every 2 years. So you may have gotten a contact from someone saying, oh my God, here's the name and email of so-and-so buyer at this retailer. You email them silent. You don't hear anything. Well, it also could mean that you've gotten an old contact name. So I would highly recommend going to LinkedIn to do research. Most people have the retailer and the category that they run in their contact information on LinkedIn. So if you were looking to find the pet food buyer at Walgreens, you should search for Walgreens pet food buyer. Then you will find people who either have that job or had that job, just to make sure that you have the right email contact that you're reaching out to. If not, it's a great way to pivot to make sure that you are contacting the now new person that you've learned is the right contact on LinkedIn. Can't tell you how many times someone has emailed me and I'm clearly not the buyer of that category, and if they would have only just taken a little bit of time to do the research to find the right buyer, they maybe would have had more success. The other thing to do is say you have the right buying contact and you're going to do a cold call and you're going to just message them on LinkedIn. Don't just email and say, hi, my name is Jasmine and I'm the owner of X company and I'd really love to have a call with you. Just that buyers are extremely busy and they really, really value their time because they're managing a ton of brands. So what are you going to want to do to really stand out? If you are going to take the time to email someone and do a cold call, you're going to want to make sure that you showcase your value. And later on in this video, I'm going to go deeper into how you can showcase your value, but just to give you a quick snippet, in any cold email, regardless if it's on LinkedIn or if it's through email directly, you're going to want to highlight some sales figures. So what are you currently doing, or what's your growth rate to make sure that they know that? You're going to want to maybe call out any key awards that you won. Have you been in any key publications where you won awards? Have you received any rave reviews from any influencers or celebrities that this retail buyer might be interested in or would know about? You're going to want to give some type of wow statement. Does your product do a claim, or does it have a new innovation that no one's ever heard of? Make sure that you, in about 3 to 5 sentences, hit 1 to 2 of those key points to make sure that you're really standing out to that buyer in that email. Otherwise, if you just say, hi, I'm Jasmine, and I'm the owner of X brand, I want to speak with you, I guarantee you're not going to get someone to reach back out to you because they're not going to understand why they should take 30 minutes of their time to talk to you. So you're going to make sure that they have a clear call to action. And in that email, you also want to make sure you provide them with your email and with your number, because they also might just decide to pick up and call you, and you can limit the amount of exchanges on LinkedIn. So that would be my LinkedIn and really any cold email advice. The next way to get discovered, I would say, is by using an incubator program. It is the year of the entrepreneur. All of the major retailers and CPGs, which is consumer product goods, if you didn't know what that was, so like Unilever, P&G, they are all looking to figure out how they can get smart and learn from these amazing entrepreneurs who are starting these businesses on their own and really seeing success. And through that, they have started tons of incubator programs that are to help propel small brands into success. So if you research, you can see people like Target or even General Mills, or even Google has an incubator program that's all focused on helping small businesses succeed. People that you would never necessarily get the chance to just have 30-minute to hour conversations with, whether that is the chief merchandising officers of their companies or the VPs of merchandising in these companies, or conversations with the marketing teams, and conversations with the supply chain teams, and direct access to buyers. Most of them have some type of training and one-on-one meeting aspects of there. Another thing that many of these incubator programs have are the ability for you to actually launch your product at the end of this program. Now, none of them are going to say that 100% of attendees get to launch. However, you do see that through each one of the completions of these programs that usually several of these brands that participated in the programs get some type of exposure in the retail environment after they are done. The other thing that I've seen really pop up is that a lot of these incubator programs are now also adding an investment opportunity. So either whether it's not the retailer, like I said, CPG, or even these tech companies are talking to brands about how they can help you by investing in you, which is huge because we all know that having money to drive your business is key. And so having this opportunity to pitch your brand, not only for placement, not only for education, but also for potential investment that can help scale your business, is a crucial way to get discovered. Do not sleep on these opportunities. Now, of course, incubator programs are highly competitive. You usually have to have some type of application process. That means that you're probably doing some type of written and oral application, but there's so much value in doing them. I've had an awesome opportunity to go through a couple different rounds of these incubator programs and meet a lot of awesome brands that I still keep in contact with today and give informal advice to. I wouldn't have met these brands had they had not been a part of the incubator program that I was able to be a part of. And so I would say they are highly, highly, highly worth your time to apply to them, to get yourself known and recognized. And even throughout the industry, it does carry some weight to say, hey, I am X brand and I was a part of blank accelerator program or blank incubator program. It kind of gives you a little bit of mark of credibility that you went through an application process, and that retailer or brand decided to pick you. So definitely look into it. The last thing I'll say is that passive routes are definitely still key. And when I say passive routes, I mean word of mouth. I mean PR. Why I'm calling them passive is because they don't really require you to do anything directly to get noticed by a buyer. It's not like you are attempting to have a one-on-one meeting with them. However, I would say from my experience being a buyer, many of the brands that I was interested in and looked into myself versus them coming and finding me were brands that I heard my friends talk about all the time, or brands that kept popping up on my Instagram. Calling it passive because you don't want to just rely on it. That's really just relying on the fact that your PR and your marketing team are doing the right work to have the right placement so that whatever buyer you're interested in by chance hears about it. Like I said, it definitely works if a buyer hears about it often and you continue to be a brand that pops up on their radar. However, I'm putting it last in the video because this is not something that you are doing directly to make sure that you're getting noticed by a retail buyer. So stay focused on it. Make sure your marketing and your PR is tight. But at the end of the day, I would highly recommend that you still utilize one of those other options that I talked about as a way to make sure that you are taking action and getting discovered by a retail buyer. So, just to recap, there are many ways for you to get discovered by a retail buyer. The first is trade shows. The second is a sales broker. The third is using a matchmaking platform. The fourth is LinkedIn. Fifth, incubator programs. And sixth, many different passive routes. You may be already trying one of these options. Like I said, this is not an exhaustive list, but these are the 6 that I most commonly encounter when discovering new brands. I want you to think about at least one new tip that you can incorporate into your discovery plan in the next 3 to 6 months.